Good morning, students. In this lecture, we will discuss about the transistor biasing. So, first of all, we will see what about the biasing and what is the basic requirement of a transistors to work as a active region or it will work as a saturation region. So if you want that your transistor should be working in the active region or transistor is working as a amplifier, so you have to provide such type of DC signals to the transistor that it will work in the active region. So we will see about the what about the transistor biasing. So biasing is the process of providing DC voltage which helps in functioning of the circuit. So if you want to proper functioning of your transistor, then you have to provide the biasing. So transistor is based in order to make the emitter base junction forward bias and collector base junction reverse bias so that it maintains in active region and it will work as an amplifier. So that is a basic condition. If you want to transistor is work as an amplifier, your transistor should be always in active region, and if you want to that your transistor should be in active region, you should have to provide the emitter to base junction always forward bias and collector to base junction should be reverse bias. So and only this can be possible with help of our biasing process. So the proper flow of zero signal collector current IC and maintenance of our proper collector emitter voltage VCE during the passage of a signal. This is known as a transistor biasing. So this circuit which provides transistor biasing is called as a biasing circuit. So first of all, why we are required the DC biasing? Because if we want to give your input signal, so before starting giving your signals we should have to proper biased our transistor. So if a signal of very small voltage is given to the input of BJT, it cannot be amplified because for a BJT to amplify its signals, two conditions have to be made. Means if you want to amplify very small amount of signals, so first of all, what type of input voltage you have to apply, that should be exceed to the cut-in voltage of the transistor. So that transistor should be in on state. So as you have to know what about the cut-in voltage, and at initial level when we are applying any type of signal to our transistor, initially some amount of applied signals will be consumed to removing the depletion layer, and after then when your depletion layer will be removed, your current will be exceeded. So that particular point in which your current rises highly, that particular point is called as a cut-in voltage, and before what type of signals, what amount of signals you have to apply, that will be consumed to removing the depletion layer. Means if you have to apply your input signal less than the cut-in voltage, so that signals will not be amplified properly. So first of all, your input signal should be exceed to the cut-in voltage, so that transistor should be on state. Otherwise, before that cut-in voltage, your transistor should not be in the on state. Second one is the BJT should be in the active region to be operated as an amplifier. So the second condition is if you want to work your transistor as an active region, your and you want to your transistor work as an amplifier, so that condition should be your BJT is work in a active region. And what about the active region? When your emitter to base junction is forward bias and your collector to base junction is reverse bias, so in that particular conditions our transistor is work as say in a active region, as we have to already seen our previous lecture. So this is the conditions for transistor to work as a amplifier. So now what will happen here, if appropriate DC voltage and currents are given through the BJT by external sources, so that BJT operates in the active region and superimpose the AC signal to be amplified, then this problem can be avoided. So not only you have to apply your input signal, what type of signals you want to apply, if you only apply that signals, so there may be, instead of only applying your low value or low amount of input signals and you want to amplify that weak input signals, before applying that signals, what you have to done, you have to initially apply some DC voltage for proper biasing of your BJT. So what about the biasing means, you have to proper forward bias and reverse bias that particular uh, junctions, and after then you should superimpose the AC signals, means what type of signals you want to amplify, then you have to apply that signals. So then this given DC voltage and currents are so chosen that transistor remains in active region for entire input AC cycles, and hence DC biasing is needed. So what you have to done, what type of input cycles, mean either your input is positive and negative entire durations, your DC voltage is selected such that your transistor is always remains in the active region. So in we can see the transistor amplifier that is a provided with the DC biasing on both the input and output circuit. So we will see further in our diagram. For transistor to be operated as a faithful amplifier, the operating point should be stabilized. So there is again a conditions. We have to also seen in our previous lectures about the operating points, and what about the stabilization. We will also see further. So always when we want our transistor to be operated as a faithful amplifier, the operating point should be stabilized. So we can look at the factors that affects the stabilization of the operating point. So here we will discuss about the factors which affect the operating point. So the main factor that affect the operating point is the temperature. So there is a temperature is a very important factor which affect our operating point, and operating point shift due to change in temperature. So as temperature increases, the value of ICE, beta and VBE gets affected, and ICBO gets doubled if 10-degree rise in temperature. VBE decreases by 2.5 millivolt, as we have to already study this parameter in our previous lectures. So the main problem which affects the operating point is temperature, means you have to control the temperature, and operating point should be made independent of temperature so as to achieve the stability. To achieve this, biasing circuits are introduced. How you can minimize the effect of temperature on your parameters. So before starting that, we have to see the stabilization process. What about the stabilization? The process of making the operating point independent of temperature changes or variations in transistor parameter is known as stabilization. Means what type of changes are done in temperature, or there are so many variations in transistor parameters, your operating point should not be changed. Okay, so what type of process, so how what you have to done for making your operating point independent of temperature, that process we called it as a stabilization. So once this stabilization is achieved, value of IC and VCE become independent of temperature variations or replacement of transistors. A good biasing circuit helps in stabilization of the operating point. So now we will see why we have to require the stabilization. So stabilization of the operating point has to be achieved due to the following reasons. So what is about the reason? Temperature dependence of IC, because collector current IC will be dependent on the temperature. Individual variations, and another phenomena is thermal runaway. So we will further see the what about the thermal runaway. So these three are the basic requirement for which we have to require the stabilization. So first of all, we see the temperature dependence of IC. So what will happen? So we have to know IC, collector current IC, that is equal to beta times of IB plus ICEO. So what about the beta times of IB and ICEO, that is equal to 1 plus beta times of ICBO. So that is the basically collector to ammeter current, okay, and collector to base current at the open circuit condition. So what will happens? That is called as a collector leakage current. ICBO is greatly influenced by the temperature variations. And to come out of this, the biasing conditions are set so that zero signal collector current IC, that is equal to the 1 milliampere. Therefore, the operating point needs to be stabilized, and it is necessary to keep the IC constant. So that is a basically operating point should be stabilized. So come out of these biasing conditions are set so that zero signal collector current is always 1 milliampere. So that is the reasons ki how you can done this. And individual variations means as the value of beta and the value of VB are not same for every transistor, whenever a transistor is replaced, the operating point should be changed. So hence it is necessary to stabilize the operating point. Now we will see the thermal runaway. So as the expression for collector current IC, so IC is equal to beta times of IB plus ICEO, and you can also represent ICEO in terms of ICBO. So that is equal to 1 plus beta times of ICBO. The flow of collector current and also the collector leakage current causes the heat dissipation. So basically, if we are talking about the collector current or collector leakage current, due to this, there may be a heat dissipation, and if operating point is not stabilized, there occurs a cumulative effect which increases this heat dissipation. So that is if there is not a stability in our operating point, our heat dissipation should also be increases. The self-destruction of such an unstabilized transistor. So self-destruction of unstabilized transistor is known as the thermal runaway. So, due to this or due to increase in basically collector current, the transistors unstabilized means if you are not stabilize your transistor, so self transistor should be self-destructed, and this is the thermal runaway. And in order to avoid the thermal runaway and the destruction of transistors, it is necessary to stabilize the operating point to keep IC constant. Means IC should not be changed according to the temperature. So it is also very important. Now we will see here the stability factor. What about the stability factor? So it is understood that IC should be kept constant in spite of variation of ICBO or ICO. So we have to keep the constant value of IC with respect to the variation of ICBO. The extent to which a biasing circuit is useful is maintaining this is measured by the stability factor, and it is denoted by S. So the extent to which a biasing circuit is useful in maintaining this. So that is a what type of maintaining are done by the biasing circuit. We have to keep the IC constant. So this type of processes happen. How we can maintain the IC constant. So according to that, our stability factor should also be maintained. By definition, the rate of change of collector current IC with respect to the collector leakage current ICO at the constant beta and IB is called the stability factor. So hence we can understand that any change in collector leakage current changes the collector current to a great amount. So the stability factor should be as low as possible so that collector current does not get affected. So S is equal to 1 in the ideal case, and if you are talking about the S stability factor, that is equal to change in collector current to the change in the collector leakage current at constant IB and beta. So you can also represent your collector current IC, that is equal to beta times of IB plus 1 plus beta times of ICO. So we can define IC is equal to beta times of IB plus 1 plus beta times of ICEO. So we can differentiate with respect to IC. So when you differentiate with respect to IC DIC by DIC, that is equal to 1. And you can also differentiate this current IB with respect to IC, and you can also differentiate ICO with respect to IC. So after differentiating it, you can get the value at DICO with DIC, that is the stability factor S. So you can put the value of S here. You can see here what about the stability factor S. So stability factor S, that is the DIC upon DICO at the constant IB and beta. So after differentiating it, we can achieve this one. So DICO by DIC, that is equal to 1 by S. And what about the S? S is equal to 1 plus beta upon 1 minus beta DIB by DIC. So hence the stability factor S depends on the value of beta, IB and IC. So now what is the different methods we have used for transistor biasing? So the biasing in transistor circuit is done by using the two DC sources VBB and VCC. So it is economically to minimize the DC current to one supply instead of two, which also makes the circuit simpler. So it is a basic purpose. It is economical and economically to minimize the DC source to one supply instead of two, which also make the simple. So commonly used method of transistor biasing is base resistor method, collector to base bias, biasing with collector feedback resistors and voltage divider bias. So these are the four types of biasing methods. All of these methods have the same basic principle of obtaining the required value of IB and IC from VCC in zero signal conditions. So in this method, a resistor RB of high resistance is connected. A resistor RB of high resistance is connected in base. The required zero signal base current is provided by VCC, which flow through RB. So the base to emitter junction is forward bias as base is positive with respect to the emitter. The required value of zero signal base current and hence the collector current can be made to flow by selecting the proper value of base resistors RB. So generally the value of RB is to be known. The figure below shows how a base resistor method of biasing circuits looks like. So as we have to require the required value of zero signal base current and collector current can be made to flow by selecting the proper value of the base resistors RB. You can see in this diagram is the collector current IC, there is the base current IB, there is a resistance RB which is connected between the collector terminal and base, and VBE. So that is the base to emitter voltage, and VC is the collector to emitter voltage. So let IC be the required zero signal collector currents. Therefore, IB, that is equal to IC upon beta. So considering the closed circuit from VCC, base, emitter and ground while applying, so that is equal to VCC. So what is the value of VCC? That is equal to IB plus RB plus VBE. So IB plus RB, that is equal to VCC minus VBE. So we can calculate from here value of resistance RB. So VBE is generally quite small. So we can see here VBE is generally quite small as compared to VCC. So we can also avoid the VBE. So in this way RB is dependent only the VCC and IB. We know that VCC is a fixed known quantity and IB is selected in such a way that some suitable value. As RB cannot found directly, this method is called as a fixed bias method. Now there is a stability factor S, that is equal to beta plus 1 upon 1 minus beta DIB by DIC. So DIB by DIC, that is equal to 0, means in fixed bias method of biasing, IB is independent of IC. So we can write it as a 0, and substituting these values we can find out stability factor S for 1 plus beta. So this is the stability factor in the fixed bias, which means that IC change 1 plus beta times as much as given in the ICU. So that is the basic stability factor we can work out in this field. Now what about the advantage of the stability factor? So circuit is simple, only one resistor is required, biasing conditions are set easily and no loading effects as no resistor is present at the base to emitter junctions. So loading effects is also not present. And if you are talking about the disadvantage, so stabilization is poor as heat development cannot be stopped. The stability factor is very high, so there are strong chances of thermal running. Now we will see the what about the collector to base bias. So collector to base bias circuit is same as base bias circuit, except that base resistor RB is written to the collector rather than to the VCC supply. So in this way, this circuit helps in improving the stability consideration. So if value of IC increases, voltage across RL increases and hence the VCE also increases. And now we will see that in turn reduces the base current IB, and this action compensates the original increases. So that is the basically why we are using the stability factor. The required value of RB needed to give the zero signal current. So that is the basically you have to done the biasing, and in biasing you have to require the RB. So what about the RB? And it RB gives the zero signal collector current. So RL that is equal to IC plus IB into RL. So that is equal to IC into RL approximately, because value of IB is very less. So we can see that ICRL plus IBRB plus VBE that is equal to VCC. So ICRL, so that is in terms of VCC or IBRB. If you want to calculate the IBRB, you can write all these in this way. And therefore RB that is equal to VCC minus VBE minus ICRL upon IB. So that is the reasons. Now, what about this? You have to done here. So you have to calculate here. You can see in this diagram. We have to wait. You can solve it. So what you have to see, you can open it and you can calculate the IB, IC in terms of VB. So if you want to calculate the IB, so that is equal to VCC minus VBE minus. So you can solve these equations RL plus RB. So VB is almost independent of the collector current. So del times of IB by IC that is equal to minus RL upon RL plus RB. So S is the stability factor, and that is equal to 1 plus beta upon 1 minus beta that is equal to this one. So we can also write it as a RL upon RL plus RB. So this value is smaller than 1 plus beta which is obtained in the fixed bias circuit. But there is an improvement in the stability. So this circuit provides a negative feedback which reduces the gain of amplifier, and so the increased stability of the collector to base bias circuit is obtained at the cost of the AC voltage. Now we will see here biasing with the collector feedback resistor. So in this method, the base resistor has its own end connected to the base and the other to the collector as its name implies. So in this circuit, the zero signal base current is determined by the VCB but not by the VCC. So it is clear that what about the zero signal base current is determined by the VCB but not by VCC. So it is clear that VCB forward biases the base emitter junctions and hence base current flow through the RB. And this causes the zero signal collector current to flow in the circuit, and the figure we can see the collector resistance biasing circuit. So you can see here RB is connected with the base and collector circuit, IC plus IB. So the required value of RB needed to give the zero signal collector current IC can be determined by VCC, that is equal to ICRC plus IBRB plus VB. So RB, that is equal to, that is upon IB. So what you have to, how you can calculate the value of RB, it will depend on the VCC, VBE, ICRC, and it will also inversely proportional to the IB base current. So that is IC is equal to beta times of IB. You can write here. So in this form VCE, so VCE, that is equal to VBE plus VCB. So according to that, VCB, that is equal to VCE minus VBE. So you can write here, and then what you can calculate the value of IB. Now we will calculate the stability factor. So therefore, this method provides the better thermal stability than the fixed bias. And Q point value, you can calculate the Q point value, VCE, VCC minus ICRC. So now we will look at the advantages. So what about the advantage of this circuit? The circuit is a simple as it needs only the one resistor. This circuit provides some stabilization for lesser changes. So if we talk about the changes, so by using doing the less changes in our circuitry, we can provide the stabilization. What about the disadvantage? The circuit doesn't provide good stabilization. The circuit provides the negative feedback. Now we will see the voltage divider bias method. So among all the methods of providing the biasing and stabilization, the voltage divider bias method is most prominent. Two resistors R1 and R2 are employed and which are connected to the VCC and provide the biasing. So the resistor Re employed in the emitter provides the stabilization. So now the name voltage divider comes from the voltage divider seen by R1 and R2. The voltage drop across R2 forward biases the base to emitter junction, and this causes the base current and hence collector current flow in the zero signal condition. The figure shows in the circuit of voltage divider. You can see here the circuit diagram of voltage divider method. R1 and R2, two resistors are applied here. Suppose that current flowing through resistance R1 is L1, and as base current is very small, therefore it can be assumed with the reasonable accuracy that current flowing through R2 is also I1. So now let's us try to derive the expressions for collector current and collector voltage. So what about the collector current IC from the circuit? It is clear that I1, that is equal to VCC by R1 plus R2, and you can calculate the value of V2 that with help of this one. So now Kirchhoff's voltage law, V2 that is equal to VB plus VE, and V2 that is equal to VBE plus IERE. So that is basically equal to IE, that is equal to V2 minus VBE upon IRE, and IC is the again equal to V2 minus VE upon RE. So that is basically the value of IC and IE, both are equal values. So formula is also same. So from the above equations, it is evident that IC doesn't depend on the beta. VB is very small that IC doesn't get affected by the VB at all. So IC in the circuit is almost independent of transistor parameters. So if you are talking about the collector current, it is independent of transistor parameters and good stabilization is achieved. What about the emitter, collector, emitter voltage? So if we are talking about the Kirchhoff voltage law to the collector terminal VCC, that is equal to the ICRC plus VCE plus IERE. So now what will happen here? Since IE is equal to IC, so here ICRC plus VCE plus ICRE. So since IE is equal to RC, you can write here IC, and then you can calculate the value of IC in terms of VC. So VC, that is equal to VCC minus IC RC plus RE. So that is the when we apply the Kirchhoff voltage law, and RE provides the excellent stabilization. So V2, so you can calculate the V2, that is equal to VBE plus ICRE. So suppose there is a rise in temperature, then collector current will be decreases, and which causes the voltage drop across RE to increases. So as the voltage drop across R2 is V2, which is independent of the collector current, as we have to already seen, the value of VBE decreases and the reduced value of IB tends to restore IC to the original value. So that is the stability factor. So when we are discussing, the equation for a stability factor of this circuit is obtained as that is equal to beta plus 1 R0 plus R3 upon R0 RE plus beta times of RE. So that is equal to this one. So R0, that is equal to R1 R2 upon R1 plus R2. So if the ratio R0 upon RE is very small, then R0 RE can be neglected as compared to the 1. So then you can write a stability factor, that is equal to S, that is equal to beta plus 1 into 1 upon beta plus 1, that is equal to 1. So here this is the smallest possible value of stability factors and leads to the maximum possible thermal stability. Now we will move to the thermal resistance. So transistor is a temperature dependent device. When the transistor is operated, the collector junction gets heavy flow of electrons and hence much heat generated. If heat increased further beyond the certain limit, damage the junctions and transistor is also damaged. So in order to protect itself from damage, the transistor dissipates heat from the junction to the transistor case and from there to the open air surrounding it. So let's the ambient temperature or temperature of surrounding is 0 degree centigrade, and the temperature of collector to base junction is also 0 degree centigrade. So A for this is the ambient temperature and J indicate to the junction temperature collector to base junction. So as Tj is greater than Ta, the difference between Tj minus Ta is greater than the power dissipated in the transistor Pt. So you can see in this figure Tj minus Ta in that is directly proportional to Pd, and Tj minus Ta, that is equal to H of Pd. So the H is the proportionality constant and it is called as a thermal resistance. So thermal resistance is the resistance to heat flow from junction to surrounding air, and it is denoted by the H Tj minus Ta upon Pd. So the unit of H, that is equal to degree centigrade per watt. If thermal resistance is low, the transfer of heat from transistor into the air will be easy, and transistor case is larger, the heat dissipation will be better. So that is basically this is achieved by the use of heat sink. So we have to just try to make the case larger so that large amount of heat will be dissipated into the atmosphere. So what about the heat sink? So here we will discuss what is the heat sink and what type of materials we are using for heat sink purpose, because if temperature rises there is large amount of losses occurred in our devices. So transistors that handle the large power dissipate more heat during the operation. So this heat, if not dissipated properly, it will damage the transistor. So apart from biasing, if you are done the biasing and large amount of currents are flowing here, we are stability factors we have to also discuss on the. So apart from that, if transistors are working and it have to handle the large power, so dissipate more heat during the operations, otherwise your transistors will be destroyed. So power transistors are generally mounted on the large metal case to provide a large area to get the heat radiated it, that is generated during its operation. So that heat will be dissipated. So metal sheet that helps to dissipate the additional heat from transistor is known as a heat sink. So heat sink is generally a metal sheet, and the ability of heat sink depends upon its material, volume area, shape, contact between the case and sink, and the movement of air around the sink. So what about the factors? So ability of heat sink depends on upon what type of materials you have to use. What about the volume and area of your heat sink? What is the shape, contact between the case and sink, and the movement of air around the sink? So that is the device will work as a heat sink. We have to provide it on a large area, and heat will be easily dissipated into the atmosphere. So you can see here. So heat sink is selected after considering all factors, and the image shows a power transistor with a heat sink. So in the previous image we have to see the heat sink, and we have to see that large amount of area is interconnected with our transistors. So we have to consider all the factors when we are designing a sink. So a tiny transistor in above image is fixed to a large metal sheet in order to dissipate its heat so that transistor doesn't get damaged. So it is a very important part how we can insert our heat sink in the small piece of transistor. So transistor is just a tiny devices, and it will inserted into the large metal sheet. Now we have to know the thermal runaway, and what is the thermal runaway? The use of heat sink avoids the problem of thermal runaway. So if we are talking about the thermal runaway, so if you use the heat sink in that heat sink will protect you the problem of thermal runaway. So thermal runaway is a situation where an increase in temperature leads to the condition that further increase in temperature, and that will leads to the destruction of the device itself. So this is a kind of uncontrollable positive feedback. So heat sink is not only consideration, other factors such as operating point, ambient temperature, and the type of transistor based can also cause the thermal runaway. So there are so many factors that thermal runaway phenomena will happens, and due to this our transistors will be happen. It means once your IC current will be increase. So in return of that, if IC will increases, so your temperature will again increases. Okay, so this is the parallel. It will be such a way that one parameter increases, other is also increases in parallel, other is also increases. So it will be uncontrollable positive feedback. Means once at a time, your devices move to the thermal runaway. There will be not in a situation that you can control. So first of all, at initial level, you have to provide your device a proper heat sink so that proper dissipation of heat should be occurred, and due to this your temperature should not increases. Otherwise, once your temperature is increases, your device will be damaged. So these are so many factors which we have to remember when we are using our transistors in a proper working situations. So first of all, there are so many factors as we have to already study that we have to done the biasing, we have to apply some DC supply so that our transistor is working in a proper reasons. And once your transistor is working in a proper reason, if your temperature increases, so your operating point should also be changed. Okay, so if your operating point also change, your biasing will be disturbed. So for maintaining the operating point, you have to work out on the stability factors, and for maintain the stability factors we have used the different methods for controlling the stability point or controlling over the operating points in controlled versions. So we have to also see that there is a relation between collector current and the temperature. So there is a very important factor that you have to control your temperature. You have to control the temperature. If you control the temperature, your increase in collector current IC should be also maintained. So here is the reason. So for this we have to provide the heat sink, and heat sink is dependent on the so many parameters. So first of all, you have to insert your what type of devices if you are working. There may be a proper heat sink, so that your what type your energy which will be dissipated in form of heat, it will be controlled. If you not once control that particular part, and your collector current will be increases, in return your again temperature will be increases. And due to increase in temperature, again there is a large amount of heat dissipation in your particular device, and your device may be damaged. So these are the conditions which we have to remember when we are working on in the transistors work as a different reasons. So first of all, what type of biasing? What is the biasing? Agar if we are represent our transistors as a biasing condition, so what precautions we have to take? AC signal, DC signal, both the signal. Why we have to done the biasing? Transistor biasing is done to keep in the circuit. So what is the what is what thing we have to keep it if we done the biasing? So proper direct current, alternating current, base current is small, collector current is small. So what parameters we have to remember in this part? And what about the operating point? So in which parameters we have to call the operating point? So we have to also discuss in our previous lecture about the operating point IC and VCT when signal is applied, magnitude of signal, zero signal value of IC and VC. So operating point, which one is represented by as a operating point? Now we will again if biasing is not done in amplifier circuit, what will happen? What is the role of biasing? Okay, so if we have not done the biasing in our amplifier circuit, so it will decrease in base current, or unfaithful amplification will occur, or excessive collector bias voltage will apply. So that is the 3 points, and none of these. So why we are doing the biasing in an amplifier circuit. So you have to know also about it. Transistor biasing is generally provided by. So what type of biasing is provided to the transistors? You can choose from here. Now for proper operation of transistors, its collector should have. So what should have its collector? Junction. If you want to your transistor work as a proper. And so its collector should have proper forward bias, proper reverse bias, very small size, none of above. So as you have to mean, if you want to transistor in a working conditions or working criteria, you have to maintain your transistor is work in the active region. And for work in active region, what parameters we have to remember, which is very important for us. So for faithful amplification by transistor, value of VC should for the silicon transistor. What should be the value of VC? The circuit that provides the best stabilization. So we have to given the types of stabilization circuits. So now we have to select what type of stabilization, which method is best provide the best stabilization. What should be the ideal value of stability factor? So you have to know about it. What is the stability factor? If maximum collector current due to signal alone is 3 milliampere, then zero signal collector current should be at least equal to. So what about the maximum collector current due to signal and zero signal collector current? So you have to calculate the value of this one. So you can calculate it. So we can see that first of all we have to know about the biasing, thermal runaway, sink, and what type of devices we are working. So it is a very important when you start to working with a transistor. So you have to know properly what conditions we have to apply for proper working of a transistor. Otherwise, If you want take the output from your transistor, or there may be so many applications where we are working the transistor, because transistor is work as an amplifier. So when you are not giving the proper biasing, you have not giving the sufficient amount of DC signals to the transistor, it will not work properly. So for initially, for giving any type of input signals, you have to remember that initial level you have to first bias your devices. Proper biasing is done of your devices, and then we will use the transistor amplifier in different applications. Because after that, if we want to enhance our voltage gain, power gains, we have to also work on move to the multi-stage transistor amplifier. So, what about the multi-stage, and what is the role of biasing, and what about the loading effect when we connect our two transistors by using the biasing circuit? So, there is also some precautions we have to also put when we have to work in the multi-stage configuration. So, at that particular configurations, we have also remember about the biasing. So, okay, thank you.